Welcome to Commander Central, episode 333. And today we're going to be taking a look at one of the new commanders from Dominaria United, Ohabi Caleria, and kind of live brewing a deck for her. I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.
Max and Chris. First time the three of us have been together in a couple of weeks. How you guys doing?
Oh, we weren't supposed to all be together? Okay. Have a good day, everybody. It was nice talking with you.
Peace out. Well, actually, I say that, but like Max might have to leave early for a work thing anyway.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
we will see. We'll see if we can all finish the show or not. So, and Chris is gearing up for a pre-release weekend at the shop this weekend.
Yeah.
That's this weekend already?
Sure is.
And there's a Pokemon one at the same time as well, I believe you said.
Yep. Tonight's Pokemon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday's Magic.
I think I am going to go try to do one of the pre-release events. I'm not sure if I'm going to go Saturday or Friday, but I think I'm going to try to do one.
Well, I'll be at all of them, so...
Excellent. How about you, Max? You going to try to do anything, or are you just taking it easy this weekend?
I am going out of town this weekend, so I will not be participating in any pre-releases.
Well, that solves that problem for you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is a set I'm very interested in, and I limited stuff is always fun. I think I've come to enjoy that more than I did when I first got back into Magic, so I'm going to try to do it for sure, see if I can get some cards I want as well, and go from there. Not much news in the world of Magic right now. There was a rules committee thing this week. They didn't change anything. They added a couple new people to the CAG. There's probably going to be an announcement, they said in September-ish, about adding a person to the rules committee. It's currently the 4 members that have been around forever. They're going to add a 5th, I'm going to guess, maybe more than that, but at least one. Whether or not somebody else steps down, I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. Other than that, it's been a pretty quiet couple of days, a couple of weeks, I guess, even aside from the pre-release stuff. Yeah,
days is the
right.
Correct call
we'll
there.
take days, yeah. So that's really it. I mean, everyone's been maybe brewing some Dominaria United commanders, and that's what we're going to do. So we'll jump into that here in a few minutes. But if you want to reach out to us and tell us how you've been filling your time in the world of Magic, how'd you go about doing that, Chris?
Well, you can reach us on a multitude of social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter at CMDR Central. You can search us up on Facebook, CMDR Central. You can find us on YouTube by searching CMDR Central. You can also find us online at cmdrcentral.com.
You can also head over to patreon.com/CMDR Central and check out our reward tiers, such as joining our community to chat with us and play virtual EDH with everybody.
We appreciate all the support from Patreon supporters and just from listeners who smash that like button. It makes a big difference and helps keep the lights on here around the Dungeon of Love. So thank you all very much. I think let's just kind of jump into this since Max might be time constrained and these kind of things take a while anyway. Max, do you want to keep the running list of cards we're adding to this deck?
On it.
Excellent. Okay, so let's start off. Ohabi, I think that's how it's pronounced, Caleria, is the new version of Lady Caleria, a archer from back in the original Legend set. The new version is a green and a white, so 3 mana in Selesnya for an elf archer. She's a 1/3 with reach and has a couple of abilities that are useful. Untap all archers you control during each other player's untap step. And whenever an archer you control deals damage to a creature, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. So it's a commander that's kind of encouraging you to build an archer tribal deck, which is not a thing that has really been asked of us before by a commander. I thought that was kind of interesting. There's not a lot of clear-cut ways to do anything with archers prior to this, so I thought this would be kind of a cool one to brew up. If you go to Scryfall and do a search, there are 67 archers in Selesnya color, so, we're going to have to run a third of them just to have enough.
I was super surprised that there was that many.
I kind of was too. And, most of them aren't very good, but
I think it's 65.
Is it 65?
I think there are 2 that are not legal in Commander.
Gotcha. I just grabbed the list. I didn't actually look down and see if any of them were silver border or anything, so good catch, Max.
They are arena cards, I believe.
I didn't filter by Commander legal, I guess. That's probably what I should have done. Okay, 65 then. So is there anything special? We'll start by throwing, say, 37 lands in here. Are there any special lands you guys can think of that you particularly want for an archer deck?
Well, I want a Savannah, and I want all the fetch lands I can put in here.
Might as well put a Tabernacle in since we're doing this, a Gaia's Cradle.
Wait, I'm not supposed to be adding these to the list? Oops.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any special lands off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't want to. There's no reason to get bogged down in the particularities of what dual land or anything I think we want. We can just basically go with a package of 13 forests and 15 planes or something just to have like a basic package. The only thing I was thinking was maybe something like Core Haven, just because I think this deck's going to be pretty defensive and you might as well tilt into that a little bit.
Okay.
Just things that make you the least attractive target. But other than that, I mean, whatever land package I think looks good, we will put together. You got a brush lands lying around, put that in the deck. If you don't, it's probably not a huge deal. 2-color decks, you can pretty easily get away with just running all basics in a 2-color deck anyway.
Sure can.
So if you have duels, you have duels. If you don't, you don't. So any thoughts before? I mean, obviously we're going to put archers in here, but like, is there any overarching strategy you guys want to do with this deck that pops out at you?
I want to run some Convoke cards.
Nice catch. So yeah, so the way it works, untap all archers you control during each other player's untap step. So your archers are always going to be untapped. So particularly if you're running instant speed Convoke cards, you can be able to tap those archers to cast that Convoke spell, and then they untap and you can cast another one next turn.
Yes. Sad thing is a lot of instant speed Convoke spells aren't that great.
Yes.
I'm looking at them right now and I'm like, these are not good.
And that's kind of what I was thinking too. I think we want to lean into that archer synergy there. So like, number one, you're going to be pretty unattractive to attack, because a lot of archers have, tap this creature to deal 2 damage to an attacking creature or something. It's like you stack up a couple of those, it's a suicide swing to swing at you. You're going to lose creatures. And it's not just like a one-time thing. Sometimes, people have a defensive ability. Core Haven, for example, you can use it once and then the next person can attack you without worrying about it. In this case, anyone who attacks you, you can tap those archers, deal damage, and then untap and do it again next turn. So you're going to be a very unattractive target. So you might as well get some additional gas out of that too. So you can go, okay, so no one attacked me during your second main phase. I'm safe to use this Convoke spell and then reset the defenses on the next person's turn.
Yes, that's true. I mean, or you can still use the sorcery ones on your turn because your guys will just untap anyway. So
yeah. So should we look at the creatures first and see what creatures we want to populate in this deck then? And then we can kind of fill in around them with Convoke spells or anything else we want to use.
Sure.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
How are we going to... I feel like this deck is going to probably feel a lot like Chris's Spiders deck, where it's a bunch of little attack power with reach.
Yep.
So how are we going to win?
So there's 2 things I was thinking. First of all, you're in green. When in doubt, run some overruns.
Yep.
You always have that to fall back on. But here's the other thing I was thinking. Number one, because you're very defensive, you probably have time to use like an Approach the Second Sun as an alt-win condition. You're ready to cast it and probably like lock things down and wait till you hit it again. You've also got some draw triggers. People are going to be trying to stop you then, so you can hit stuff with archers and use her ability to draw down to it a little bit as well. The second thing I was also thinking was you've got some in addition to the Convoke stuff, cards like Cryptolith Rites, creatures you control have tapped to add a mana to your mana pool. Kind of a similar thing that Convoke, you can do that on other people's turns, so you can add a bunch of mana. Helix Pinnacle also sits there as an alt-win condition. You're defensive, you can take some time to put mana into Helix Pinnacle, and if you have your Cryptolith Rites, or if you happen to be someone who has an Earthcraft, or is willing to get one, then you can probably pretty easily, in like 1 or 2 trips around the board, put enough counters on Helix Pinnacle to end the game.
Didn't they just reprint Earthcraft too, or something like that?
Nope, it's on the reserve list. So
which one was I thinking of? They just reprinted. Oh, Food Chain.
I think Never mind. Food Chain, yeah.
Yeah, I was in the right colors and that stuff. Don't yell at me, everybody.
Broken old card in green,
right?
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. If you have any suggestions beyond that, Max, I am open to it.
Sounds good.
Okay. So in any creatures you guys think are an auto include here, I was thinking you definitely want to look at ones that have some kind of a tap ability for that to abuse that untap. So creatures that like do a thing, particularly if it's do damage to an attacking creature or something. The first one I was thinking of, Brigid, Hero of Kinsbale from back in the Lorwyn.
Yep. You
have Brigid who is an archer, and she has first strike, and she taps to deal damage to a creature or player. Crossbow Infantry is one. Same thing. Damage to attacking or blocking creature. There's a Devante Archer and a Devante Healer. Both do the same thing.
So
Daybreak Ranger.
If we went with a +1/+1 theme, like a small theme in it, there is something called let's see if I can pronounce this. Arcus Acolyte. I probably pronounced that horrible. It's something Acolyte. It's green-white. Human Cleric Archer. It's a 2/2 for 2. Has Reach and Lifelink, and has Outlast, which is a green or a white. Tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Outlast only as a sorcery. But then it reads each other creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has Outlast for 1 green or 1 white. So it gives you another tap outlet to just start buffing, your creatures every turn.
I mean, even if you don't necessarily have a +1 counters theme that you're building around, that's still useful to be able to put, one tripper on the board, you're going to put 4 counters on a creature.
Yeah,
like that's still pretty useful.
Because when I was talking about Convoke, a card that had popped into my head was the Venerated Loxodon. It's a 5-mana elephant cleric. Granted, this is not fitting your theme of your, archers or whatever, but it has Convoke, so you can convoke it all for 4 creatures and then a white. And when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that convoked it. So all those creatures that convoke to cast that creature get a +1/+1 counter.
Nice.
So I mean, little things like that is what I was thinking. Something like
for
that
sure.
could
Add that.
work.
Well, let's add that one as well.
Some sort of side theme.
There's Caddy Bree of Mithril Hall.
That's a good card.
Same thing, Archer, 2 mana for a 2/2 with first strike and reach, and when she attacks, you put a +1 counter on it for each equipment attached to it, and then you can spend 1 to remove the counters and deal X damage to a target attacking or blocking creature. And we're going to add some equipment, I think, later on, things that add Death Touch and stuff like that. So there's going to be equipment in this deck to utilize that ability with her as well.
Okay. What do you guys think about, the Changelings or whatever?
Again, I think particularly the white one and the green one, I forget what their names were.
Mirror
Both
Entity, Colossal, the
Chameleon
Salamander.
Colossus, yeah.
Yep, that
Chameleon
one.
Colossus.
And then Metallic Mimic is the other one.
No,
there's Bloodline Pretender too.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as Metallic Mimic, just not quite as good, I guess. Could be Adaptive Automaton as well as another one.
That's the other one.
Yeah, because there's Bloodline Pretender. That one's an actual shapeshifter changeling that is identical to Adaptive Automaton, but it's actually got the creature type changeling on it.
The main 2 I was thinking of were Chameleon Colossus and Mirror Entity.
Yep.
Because they both have kind of win conditions, Mirror Entity being able to basically turn all your stuff into, a 8/8 or something later in the game.
Yep, and Metallic Mimic is going to play into Chris's +1/+1 sub-theme.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
As will Bloodline Pretender.
Yeah, I always think of things like that when I'm building a tribal type deck, especially a weak one, of how you can make the creatures a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's just an easy, cheap way to do it that, can slot into any of those decks, and just all of a sudden your creatures start getting bigger for just playing them in general.
So what do we have for creatures now, Max?
We have 11 creatures. We have Adaptive Automaton, Bloodline Pretender, Bigrid, Hero of Kinsbale, Caddy Bree, Chameleon Colossus, Crossbow Infantry, Deviant Archer, Deviant Healer, Metallic Mimic, Mirror Entity, and the Venerated Loxodon.
All right, so let's go a little bit further here. Let's do a Great Bow Doyen, Doyen, that gives archers +1/+1, so we might as well use that. And also has an ability whenever an archer you control deals damage to a creature, it deals that much damage to that creature's controller. That's fantastic.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Femerif Archer, Femeref. They deal 4 damage to a target attacking creature with flying, but still, that's pretty solid. I mean, there's so many flyers in Commander.
I don't know what you're talking about. Flyers are boring. Nobody runs flyers.
Nobody plays flying decks. There's a Jagged Scar Archers. The same thing. It's got a tap damage. And you know what? Since it's relatively cheap, you can probably get it for the Chronicles version. You might as well put the original Lady of Caleria in here just because it's cool. Might as well have her original version in her deck, I would say.
Yeah, might as well.
I think that's a good way to go. There is Matsu Tribe Sniper, another archer that has one of those abilities. What else we have here? Rashaka the Slayer, legend from, can block creatures with flyer, and you know what? That one sucks. We'll just delete my even. I thought she did something different, but you can just ignore that one. There's a Scattershot Archer, which is going to do a similar thing we like. In this particular deck, there's a Silhana Star Fletcher. It's an archer, but it's going to be a mana dork ability. It has a mana dork baked right into it. So it does that, and it has, use that mana dork and untap it every single turn. Stalking Leonin. There is a Skyway Sniper and a Sky Shroud Archer.
What do you guys think about putting Nylea in there? Granted, she doesn't have the creature type of archer, but her art, she is carrying a massive bow in both of them.
She's pretty good too.
And she's
I would say
full drawn, massive bow, like ready to shoot something. So
I think that would work. I'm fine with that one.
Which Nylea?
Yeah,
because they both are drawing the bow.
Yeah, they're both good though. Because one allows you to reveal the top card if it's a creature card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it into your graveyard. And then, of course, original Nylea gives all your creatures trample, and it is a buff outlet for excess mana.
Let's do that.
So both of them?
Yeah.
Cool.
What do we have for creatures now, Max?
We are at 22 creatures.
I have 2 more suggestions.
Okay.
Realm Walker is
that's a good one.
is a changeling. When it comes into play, choose a creature type, so you would choose archers, and you can cast archers at the top of your library.
That's a really good one.
And Saryth, Saryth, the Viper's Fang from last fall's Innistrad set. Other tapped creatures you control have Death Touch, and other untapped creatures you control have Hexproof. So your stuff will be unhittable when it's untapped, but when someone swings at you and you tap your archers to do the damage, they will then have Death Touch. So by the time the trigger resolves, it will kill the creatures.
I like that.
So I think those are 2 additions, and that takes us, I think that's probably plenty of creatures. We can tweak that if we want to, but I think that's probably good.
Yes.
Awesome. So we're at 24 creatures, 37 lands, and I can tell you the ones I have added. I added Brushland, Canopy Vista, Command Tower, Fabled Passage, Path of Ancestry, Scattered Groves, Temple
Nice.
Garden, War Room, Wooded Bastion, and then 13 of each basic.
That works. So I have a couple of equipment I had mentioned that I think we should add here. Ceremonial Knife. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has, whenever this creature deals combat damage, not to a player, just combat damage, create a blood token. So it's equipment you can just put on your creature, and every single time you use it, you can make a blood token.
Now, blood tokens only gain you life, right?
You discard a card, and when you sacrifice it, you discard a card and draw a card.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how great that is. If we need to make cuts, that would be one I would cut, but it's a thing, again, you can reuse it repeatedly because of that ability.
Yes.
Cauldron Complete is just a beast anyway, because it gives all your creatures, a gazillion, it gives the creature it's attached to, first strike, trample, indestructible, haste, whatever. But when it deals combat damage to a creature, you exile that creature, so your archers just get rid of a thing immediately if they're wearing that, and it's just useful equipment anyway.
Yep.
There's a couple of ones that have Death Touch, so same thing, if you put it on your archer, it's going to kill whatever it deals damage to. So there's Basilisk Collar, there's Gorgon Flail, and there's Gorgon Head.
Yes, Death Touch would be really nice.
Yeah. And there's also Nico Tay from back in the first Kamigawa set. Whenever a equipped creature deals damage to a creature, you tap that creature and it doesn't untap. And whenever a equipped creature deals damage to a player, that player loses a life too. So again, it's not gonna kill a creature like the Death Touch stuff, but it's gonna permanently lock it down, keep it from attacking again. You're probably better off just running the Death Touch stuff, so I don't know if we want to add that, but I wanted to throw it out there.
It is in the list, and we can cut it if needed.
Okay. We just got a new mana rock. We're playing green, so if we want to add ramp, we're going to probably usually do the land ramp stuff. There's, Nature's Lore and 3 Visits and, Circur, Tribe Elder and Rampant Growth and Farseek. Between that and Soul Ring, we're dang near there. However, I was thinking Relic of Legends would probably be good here too. That's one of the new ones we got. 3 mana to tap a mana of any color, and you can tap an untapped legendary creature you control to add a mana of any color.
Okay.
So then you play that, tap it for a mana, and then tap Lady Caleria and tap Bridget and tap, Caddy Bree and make 4 mana, and then pass a turn and they all untap and you can do it all again.
Yep.
Okay.
Similarly, you have Honor Worn Shaku, 3 mana, and you tap it for a colorless, and you can tap an untapped legendary permanent you control to untap it. So same thing. Tap it for, mana, then tap your commander to untap it and use it again. So you can probably get, just from your commander, it's basically a better Worn Power Stone. And if you have a second legendary creature, it's a 3 mana rock that's tap it for 3. And that's not just once, that's every turn because your creatures will untap. So I would use those 2 for mana rocks in here as well.
Okay.
Okay, so for artifacts, currently we have Arcane Signet, Basilisk Collar, Ceremonial Knife, Gorgon Flail, Gorgon's Head, Honor Worn Shaku, Cauldron Complete. I added Maskwood Nexus just because it's tribal.
Sure. Yeah.
Nico Tay, Relic of Legends, and Soul Ring.
How about Basilisk Collar?
That is in there.
That's in there, okay. We mentioned the artifacts, or the Cryptolith Rites and Earthcraft. Earthcraft we'll just throw in there for the heck of it and assume somebody has it. So you want to add those 2?
Yep, those are enchantments, so let me start making those out.
And then I mentioned the 2 alt-win conditions, so we can throw Helix Pinnacle and Approach in there as well.
Those have now been added.
All right.
We are at 77 cards.
I have a couple more suggestions here I can throw out that play into the abilities before we have to start making cuts, I guess.
Okay.
So, number 1, you have Folk Hero. It's one of the new backgrounds. Commander creatures you won't have whenever you cast a spell that shares a creature type with this creature, you draw a card.
Done.
So, might as well get a free draw whenever you cast one of your archers.
That works for me. Yeah, no, makes sense.
So then you have a couple of things. Again, let's take advantage of the tapping ability. Glare of Subdual. Tap an untapped creature you control to tap target artifact or creature. Tap one of your archers, lock something down, and it's going to untap again. You have a couple old cards that do kind of similar things. Symbiotic Deployment is an enchantment for 2 and a green, and you skip your draw step. But you can spend 1 mana and tap 2 untapped creatures you control to draw a card.
Do we think we're going to have enough creatures to warrant skipping our draw step in green and white?
That one, I think if we have to make cuts or we're going to make cuts,
Okay.
that one would be one I would probably look to pull. I think we're going to have enough draw probably anyway.
Gotcha. It reminds me of Psychic Possession, and at least that there you're in blue and running other things like
right, and you're always going to
Factor
get the draw.
Fiction and whatnot. Yeah.
There's Diversionary Tactics, which is 3 and a white, and you can tap 2 untapped creatures you control to tap a creature. So again, it's just a second backup Glare of Subdual effect.
Now, what do you think about Quest for Renewal? 2-mana enchantment. Whenever a creature you control becomes tapped, you may put a quest counter on it. As long as there are 4 more quest counters on it, you untap all creatures you control during each other player's untap step.
That would be good.
It's like a secondary commander type of card.
It's a backup. Yeah. I was also thinking maybe Cryptic Gateway. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control, and you can put a creature card from your hand into play that shares a creature type with them. So, tap 2 of your archers, play your creature for free, and then they'll untap again.
Would Aura Shards be something to consider? We have some creatures in here that make bodies. We have 25 creatures.
Yeah. I also liked Presence of Grand. It's an aura that you put on a creature. An enchanted creature has tap, create an elf token. But again, if you put on an archer that's going to untap every turn, that's going to make you 4 tokens every turn.
Yeah.
Or every trip around the board, at least, in a 4-player game. Throne of the God Pharaoh.
There you go.
Because you're going to tap out your creatures on your... I mean... If you very frequently are going to tap out because you're not going to worry about it, whether you're using abilities or something else. So might as well, throw 4 or 5 damage on everybody every single turn.
Seeing that we're starting to add cards that kind of require either our commander or Quest for Renewal out, do we want to consider like Swiftfoot Boots or the other ones? Greaves, Lightning Greaves?
I think Greaves makes sense, and frankly, I would be this is the kind of deck where I would not, since we're playing kind of defensively and buying our time, I also wouldn't mind an Asceticism or Privileged Position kind of spells either.
Okay.
Just keep everything safe.
Asceticism, Greaves, Asceticism, Boots as well.
Yeah.
Since that we have equipment, Boots are probably better than Greaves.
So what are we sitting at for cards now?
89 total, and we haven't really touched instants or sorceries.
Yeah, we still, because we're going to need some removal.
Heroic Intervention.
Yeah. Particularly because it's relatively cheap
protection.
These days.
I mean, there's so many good protection spells, so.
The generous gifts and Beast Within kind of spells right there, and Swords and Path. I think we probably can get away with, we don't need a ton, because we have people attacking us with creatures is kind of, we're a little bit defensive there as well. So probably can run slightly less rule than you normally would, but throw a board wipe in there too, and an off-tier command or something, and shoot, we're probably getting pretty close here.
Yep, give me 1 second. So I have Heroic Intervention, Teferi's Protection, Swords Path, Austere Command, and Generous Gift and Beast Within. Did I miss any others? Oh, we probably want like a Rampant Growth and stuff like that, don't we?
Yeah.
Harvest Season. It's a 3-mana sorcery. It says search your library for X basic land cards, where X is the number of tapped creatures you control.
There
and
you
put those
go.
cards on the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, that's a good one. One.
Seeing how we're tapping everything down all the time, so.
Mm-hmm.
We are currently at 99 cards.
There we go. We're done. Good show, boys. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, we're not done. We got to add another 40 cards and then sit, 3 weeks and decide what to cut.
Stare at it for a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, in 3 weeks from now,
out.
we'll do part 2 of this show where we make all the cuts.
Because we haven't put in any overruns or anything either, which we had talked about needing to add.
Okay, so I'll add Overwhelming Stampede.
Hoof if you got one.
Do we want to run the Infect one?
Triumph.
Then they
Triumph
can be
is probably better than most, yeah.
Because then they're got poison on their arrows and they're sniping you and all that fun jazz. Thematic stuff.
For sure. We are now over 100 cards. We are at 102.
Of course.
It was Triumph and one of the overruns that put us over.
Okay. Well,
our win cons put us over.
And we probably can, because weren't we at 26 creatures? We probably could shave 1 or 2 of the worst ones out.
We are at 24 creatures, not counting the commander.
That's actually pretty good, though, for how weak
for this kind of deck, yeah.
So do we look at artifacts?
We can definitely cut like that Nico Tay, I would say, if we want to cut something that one was not that great. And we could probably drop one of the other Death Touch equipment. We don't need like 7 of them.
Yeah, I would leave Basilisk Collar in because it gives lifelink as well.
So Gorgon's Head is probably the one. So Gorgon's Flail is 2 to cast, 2 to equip, but the creature gets +1/+1 in Death Touch. Gorgon's Head is 1 to cast, 2 to equip, but you just get Death Touch.
Okay.
I think it's between those two. I think the +1/+1's a little more important since all of our bodies are tiny.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I think so too.
Bye-bye, Gorgon's Head. We are currently at 100 cards.
All right. So what are we missing? What do you think? Do we need anything else that is in there? So the commander has a little bit of draw baked in. We've thrown a few draw things in. I still wouldn't mind like a
Harmonize?
Yeah.
I don't think our creatures are going to be big enough for something like Rishkar's Expertise or a Return of the Wild Speaker.
And there's a few humans in the mix as well that kind of makes Return of the Wild Speaker a little bit less reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then why don't we play the enchantments like Guardian Project or something like that?
Guardian Project's not a bad idea, yeah.
Guardian Project is great. And I know it's not technically an archer or an elf, because that seems to be another theme we have going on right now. Well, it is an elf. Beast Whisperer.
Yeah, I mean, just because, enough creatures are going to come into play. Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, we're back up to 2 over. Here we go, folks.
This is the dance you do. Anything that doesn't, anything, Max, you're looking at the list.
Yep.
Anything that jumps out at you as being maybe unnecessary?
So let's start at enchantments. So enchantments, we have that symbiotic deployment in here still, which I think partnered with Cryptolith Rite is probably okay, just because we'll be tapping 3 creatures to draw a card, essentially. Right. Quest for Renewal, I like that. Presence of Gond, that makes sense since it makes a bunch of bodies. Helix Pinnacles, great. Guardian Project. So Glare of Subdual, tap an untapped creature, tap target artifact or creature. That's probably great defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, the cost-wise, Earthcraft would be, since we're making this for our listeners, cost-wise, Earthcraft would be the smart
Most
cut.
people can't afford Earthcraft. That would be, it would be great in the deck, but realistically, it's probably not one most people can put in their list. So that's a good one to cut out, I think.
The other one would be like Diversionary Tactics, since it is you tap 2 things to tap a creature, where something like Glare of Subdual, you tap 1 creature to either tap an artifact or a body.
Yeah.
I think we have like a good and best situation right here.
I think so.
So bye Diversionary Tactics. For creatures, the Leonin makes sense, the Skyshroud Archer. I feel like the Skyshroud Archer would be the one creature I think we should cut, because you tap it to give target creature with flying -1/-1, so it's not even doing damage.
Yeah.
Because that's what
it's not a counter either that stays on it or anything.
Yeah.
It's
and our commander cares about damage. Yeah. We are 1 under now. Oh no, we're exactly at 100. There we go. Scattershot Archer with 1 damage to creature with flying. Viper's Fang makes sense. Realm Walker makes sense. Both Nyleas make sense. We have all the changelings.
Cut a land.
We are at 37. That would put us at 99. If we want to add something else in here.
Is there anything else anyone? Do we add a Vanquisher's Banner?
We did not.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
Buffs your creatures, adds a draw.
Or Icon of Ancestry, Herald's Horn, any of that stuff that allows you to gain exponential advantage off of just playing your creature spells.
Yeah, I definitely like Vanquisher's Banner, I think, out of all those, because it's giving us some card advantage.
It does all the things.
Yeah. So we're at 101. If we cut a land, I would probably cut Fabled Passage, since we aren't running any other fetch lands.
Yeah, that makes sense. And particularly because we're in green, we have ramp running in 2 colors. I think this isn't a particularly expensive deck in terms of mana. I think you're just fine with just 36 lands.
You guys don't want to run like a Cathar's Crusade or the Double Strike Lifelink one or anything?
Math is hard, Chris. Math is really hard, and I don't want to do it anymore.
I don't know if you have enough evasion or like regularly have trample enough to justify like a true conviction or something, or you're not going to be you are going to get, I guess you would gain life off your creatures attacking you, but I don't know if that is going to be that. I think you're so defensive, I don't know if life gain is that important. Maybe it is, but it seems like it'll be an easy thing to just not use.
Yeah.
I'm just quickly looking through
Sure.
Scryfall and EDH Rec and whatnot, just making sure we didn't miss anything obvious.
Someone's out there yelling right now, like, I can't believe you
I'm
forgot
sure.
this card from Mercadian Masks.
Well, I mean, there's definitely
it was in
quite a
Homelands.
few. There's quite a few like artifacts or enchantments we could put on that give them tap abilities to like
Yeah,
get damage or something like that. If you wanted to go that theme, then you'd have to go all in on that kind of stuff. You can't just have like one-ofs or anything like that.
We really don't have much artifact or enchantment removal besides that Aura Shards or the Beast Within and the Generous Gift. Like we don't have anything specific. Like
The one thing I was
Glamour
so if
or
we don't have a ton of them, I was thinking maybe Heliod's Intervention, since it's like an X, and you can, it's instant speed, so you can also, like, if you have any of your archers that are mana dorks, and there's a couple of them, or your Earthcraft, you could easily do for the end of your turn, I'm going to destroy these 6 artifacts, and then everything one tap.
Yeah, I have added that to the list. We are at 101.
Anything that jumps out as being particularly unnecessary.
You know what card we probably forgot that people are probably yelling at us for? We're in green-white, and what's like the best green-white enchantment out there?
Mirari's Wake.
Yup.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know if we're gonna need all that mana, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Like
the deck's pretty efficient.
Type of thing, and then, if you have excess mana to put into something, you have it type of thing.
Right. I mean, I think that with Cryptolith Right and all these little bodies, I think that might make up for the double mana of having 5 lands out.
Yeah.
I don't think anything super obvious jumps out at me, so here, let me just throw this to you guys.
A Bow of Nylea.
Attacking creatures gain Death Touch.
Yeah, that could just kind of replace...
But it's only attacking creatures that won't work with any of the archer abilities.
Yeah, well, having the extra ability on it to put a +1/+1 counter on something
is useful.
Or, gaining life, or what else does it do? 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. Don't think I've ever used that mode, but okay.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay, Bow is in. I did send the link to you guys in Slack if you would like to open it up on your end.
Yeah.
You should be able to see it. I don't have it set to private, so...
There we go. Yeah, we are at 101. Because we need to, what do we need? Like 1 cut, we said?
Oh, how about like something like Shamanic Revelation, since this is about bodies and not power?
That's not a bad one.
That
we talked about cutting Symbiotic Deployment because it requires you to skip your draw step. That would be one that's a pretty easy cut as well.
Done. Deployment is out. And Revelation's in. We're at 102.
All right. See, this is where things start to get complicated because now you're like, oh, okay, we keep adding cards and faster than we can take them out. So let's pull. I was going to say Keldra Complete. There's no ways of cheap equip cost. It's expensive to cast, expensive to equip. We've got enough Death Touch stuff anyway. Probably does the same thing easier. I say we pull that one.
Bye-bye, Cauldron Complete.
1 more cut.
And we're already at 36 lands, Chris, so we can't cut more lands. Well, we could, we just shouldn't. You just say that because you've never seen your Soul Ring, okay?
Yes, I am, totally.
Never once drawn it, so Chris was like, screw that card.
Well, I know in my Spiders deck, because you brought this up earlier, that's Golgari. I don't play any artifact ramp in there. I play all the ramp spells instead. So usually when I'm in green, that's usually my first cuts are the Mana Rocks because I'm already heavy into the ramp spells. But looking at our list, we only have 3 of them, I think, 3 or 4, so it's not really enough to justify that. Yeah,
we only have 3, and one of them is pretty conditional on how many bodies we have out.
Yep.
I would say maybe Maskwood Nexus. Almost all of our creatures are already archers, so it's not going to help a ton there, and all it's doing is then being like a 3 mana to make a shapeshifter, which I don't know if it's that helpful here necessarily either.
But it would also, I mean, it does create... So how many non-archers do we have? 1, 2... We have like 6 non-archers in this deck.
I suppose
but are they changelings?
A few of them... Adaptive Automaton becomes the creature type. We choose... Beast Whisperer is not an archer. Bloodline Pretender is a changeling. Chameleon Colossus is a changeling. Is the original lady... Oh yeah, it is. It was in our Scryfall search. Metallic Mimic is a shapeless shifter, so it becomes the type we choose. Otherwise, we have Realmwalker is a changeling. Sereth is not an archer. Nyleas are not archers, and the Loxodon is not an archer.
Okay.
So it would turn all those into archers.
I actually...
And for 3 mana, making 2/2 archers seems pretty good.
Yeah. I was going to actually say venerated Naloxodon might only be okay. Like that might be one I would cut.
It's our only Convoke card, so is Chris okay with this?
Sure is. No, that's fine. The other Convoke cards that I would be playing would be ones that create tokens and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
Because you convoke your whole board, create, 10 tokens, then untap your board on the next person's turn.
Yeah, and basically, I mean, you could kind of like, because we went one way with this, but you could very easily tilt really hard into Convoke stuff too. Like we kind of had, you can't do everything.
No.
But that's some way someone else could build this for sure. We're at 100?
We're at 100.
That looks pretty good.
Definitely needs work, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think for a start, that's not bad.
No, I like this a lot. This would be like an Archer precon deck.
Yeah, right, yeah. And
with some really expensive cards in it.
I think we pulled most of the terrible ones, though, didn't we? Asceticism probably isn't cheap, but Teferi's Protection isn't cheap.
Teferi's Protection, Heroic Intervention will be $10 in a couple weeks, I'm sure.
Oh, it's back up to 17.
Oh, never mind.
There we go. But already problem solved. It's already expensive. Yeah, I mean, not terrible. Helix Pinnacle's not cheap, but like this isn't awful necessarily.
And some of these Change Wings are actually kind of expensive. So
yeah.
No, I like this list. It's a great starter for wanting to build a Selesnya Archer deck.
Oh, that's actually kind of fun. We haven't done one of these for a while, so that was kind of a fun
thing
to. Yeah, and obviously, if we were building this, you'd spend another I'd spend way too much time staring at it now and somehow wind up at 130 cards, but.
That's me every single time.
Yeah, no kidding. I've got a deck like that right now. I'm like at 128 trying to figure out what to cut. So it's a thing that happens for sure. Anyway, we haven't done this for a few years probably at this point, but that was, we kind of thought it would be fun to do a quick live brew of a commander to kind of hear us, what we do when we're thinking about building a deck. So hopefully that was interesting and a little bit useful to you out there in listener land. But we're very curious to see what you guys are brewing out of this new set, considering there's a gazillion legends in Dominaria United. So we'd love to hear back from you what you're putting together. That is going to wrap up episode 333. I'm Dana. You can find me on Twitter at Dana Roach. You can find Max at CMDRCentral_Max. And you can find Chris at WiseSquishy1. Our show is edited by Rafael Garcia, and you can find them on the Twitter birds at Ursa Bear Walker. And our podcast theme is Retro Future Dirty by Kevin MacLeod. We'll be back next week with a new show. Until then, I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.